When we picture medieval craftsmanship, our minds filled with the great icons of the age, massive oak beams towering across cathedral halls, blacksmiths hammering iron beside roaring forges, castles rising like stone giants against winter storms. But buried beneath all that familiar imagery lies a secret that history almost managed to erase. A method so extraordinary, so quietly effective, that it made medieval wood nearly immortal. This wasn't a simple coating of oil or a quick seasoning trick passed from father to son. It was a process so powerful that timbers treated with it survived centuries of rain, snow, insects, and rot, standing strong long after the people who carved them were dust. Some of those beams still hold weight today, as solid as the day they were placed. The method didn't vanish because it failed. It vanished because it succeeded so well. In fact, that it threatened entire trades built on the idea that wood should eventually decay, be replaced, and bought again. This was the medieval wood hack that refused to die, even when the world tried to bury it. In the early Middle Ages, long before chemical preservatives, long before steam-powered sawmills or pressure-treated lumber, builders faced a brutal reality. Wood was everywhere. They built with it, traveled on it, cooked with it, and heated their homes by it, but nature was always working to reclaim it. Moisture seeped into beams, swelling them until they cracked. Worms burrowed deep into foundations. Fungus crept along hidden grain lines, turning beams into powdery ruin. For most structures, decay was inevitable. Yet somehow, cathedrals, bridges, monasteries, and farmhouses built in the 12th and 13th centuries still stand today, proudly holding their original timbers. How did medieval builders achieve a durability modern lumber can only dream of? The answer lies in a process that blended time, water, and natural chemistry into a preservation technique far ahead of its era. It didn't begin in palaces or cathedrals. It began in small, rural sowyards, where generations of craftsmen noticed something strange. Freshly felled wood, if dried, too quickly destroyed itself. But if placed in water, something miraculous happened. Instead of weakening, the wood became stronger. This was water seasoning, a technique known intimately by old carpenters, though rarely written down. Logs were submerged in cool, oxygen-poor water pans, slow-moving rivers, even muddy pits, sometimes for months, sometimes for years. As the wood rested beneath the surface, the water gently leached out the very things that caused decay: sugars, starches, and proteins that fed fungi and insects. Without that food source, pests lost all interest in the wood. Rot couldn't find a foothold. What emerged from the water was denser, purer, almost mineral-like timber that no worm would touch and no fungus could easily break down. The Vikings used this method to build ships capable of crossing oceans. Medieval monks used it to construct abbeys and barns that survived centuries of storms. Renaissance architects relied on it for bridge piles and mill wheels that outlasted iron. And through all these eras, the genius of the process remained the same. Nature itself did the preserving. In oxygen-poor water, millions of tiny organisms broke down the sapwood's vulnerable carbohydrates, leaving behind mostly lignin, the tough, fibrous substance that gives wood its strength. With every passing month, the timber became more dimensionally stable, less prone to swelling and shrinking under humidity changes. And when these water-coated beams were later dried, not quickly, but slow and steady and shaded, airy bonds, they became almost impervious to cracking. They could be shaped and carved like ordinary wood, yet they resisted moisture like stone. Archaeologists have pulled planks treated this way from medieval harbors after 800 years underwater, still sound enough to cut and use. Even more fascinating, medieval craftsmen discovered that not all water was equal. Rivers rich in tannins flowing through oak forests, or peat bogs, and fused the timber with natural preservatives. Claridge creeks added a protective film that sealed fibers from within. In some regions, logs were buried in marshy soil, where anaerobic conditions imitated water seasoning. Every region had its own tradition. Every craftsman had his own secret, and because guilds guarded this knowledge fiercely, little of it ever made it onto parchment. Instead, it passed quietly from master to apprentice, from generation to generation, shaping the wooden world of Europe without fanfare. But by the late 18th and early 19th centuries, The rise of industrial sawmills changed everything. The old ways were labeled inefficient, outdated, too slow. Modern economies demanded speed wood harvested, cut, dried, and sold within weeks, not years. Kiln drying replaced patient air. Chemical preservatives replaced natural tannins, and as water seasoning fell out of favor, a strange irony emerged. Wood became faster to produce, but dramatically less durable. The beams of new buildings rotted long before the medieval ones they were meant to replace. When 20th century engineers restored ancient cathedrals, they found the original medieval beams still sound, while newer repairs had already failed. This discovery sparked renewed interest in the forgotten method. And by the 1980s, studies confirmed what old craftsmen already knew. Water-aged wood was not only more stable, it was structurally superior to modern kiln-dried timber. The truth is undeniable. The method didn't disappear because it was useless. It disappeared because it was too good. Wood that lasted centuries meant fewer sales, fewer repairs, fewer profits for industries built on constant replacement. Mani Wallace, a medieval craftsman, had already solved the problem of decay, thousands of years before industrial chemistry even existed. And yet, the beauty of this ancient trick is that it's still practical today. If you're building off-grid, constructing long-lasting structures, or working in wet, harsh climates, the same principles apply. Select green hardwood logs, oak, ash, or elm. Place them underwater. While they're still fresh, keep oxygen away. Weight them down with stones. Leave them submerged not for days or weeks, but for seasons. 3 to 6 months is good. A year or more is ideal. Then lift them out, rinse them, and let them dry slowly in the shade with plenty of airflow. What you'll hold in your hands is wood with a deeper color, a heavier feel, and a resilience that modern lumber simply cannot match. Even if you lack a river or pond, you can improvise berry logs in damp clay or mud. It won't match full water seasoning, but it will still draw out much of the sap that feeds rot. Builders who experiment with water-cured timber today find it exceptional for log cabins, fences, posts, beams, and furniture meant to withstand humidity. The same method that let medieval bridges survive centuries of rain and flood can help a modern homestead endure the elements with almost no maintenance. The medieval wood hack reminds us that history's greatest knowledge often comes not from laboratories but from observation and patience. Medieval builders didn't need moisture meters to see how it behaved. They saw how fallen logs preserved in riverbeds stayed sound while wooden walls exposed to air crumbled. They watched, they learned, and they borrowed wisdom directly from nature. Modern life often forgets this lesson, that longevity comes not from rushing or forcing materials, but from working with natural processes instead of against them. For anyone who loves history, craftsmanship, or true long-term building, this forgotten method isn't just a curiosity. It's a blueprint for making materials last lifetimes. In an age where everything is designed to break, the old way stands as a quiet rebellion against waste. If this exploration into lost medieval craftsmanship inspired you, make sure to subscribe to In the Beginning and share this story with others who appreciate real skill and timeless knowledge. Because the past doesn't just show us where we came from, it shows us how to build something that lasts.